Hello everybody, welcome to the channel if you are new here, welcome back if you are not. It's Baby Jesus here with another gold making guide. In today's video we will be touching base on one of my absolute favorite things to gather and sell for gold. And no, we're not talking about rawhide today. Today we are of course talking about hyssop. More specifically, what drops alongside hyssop when you are gathering from herb bushes. Now, before we get too far into the video, I do just want to say, if you find anything at all beneficial in this video, please consider hitting the subscribe button. We're aiming for 1,000 subs by the end of this year, and I can't do it without you. Now, on the flip side, if you don't enjoy the video, please consider leaving a comment down below on how I can improve on future content. Now, that being said, let's jump right into it. So as I mentioned, guys, we are going to be looking at herbs, more specifically what drops alongside herbs. I've talked a lot about them, and I think they're a fantastic way for anybody who wants to get into gold making to do so. And there have always been a couple of staples within the herb side, like the seasoning side, that have always sold for a ton of money, or a ton of gold, pardon me. Now, obviously, for anybody who's done any cooking whatsoever, you know tarragon has always been a massive player when it comes to price. And that is due to two reasons. One, scarcity. It only spawns in maybe a dozen different locations in terms of herb bushes. And two, those locations are in Brightwood and Reekwater, pardon me. Which means that those are relatively higher level areas. And once they're in those areas, they're a bit of an annoyance to both get to and then farm consistently, because whenever you're farming herb bushes, you want quantity over quality in terms of how many bushes you can gather from, or harvest, which means that those two factors combined for making tarragon extremely uncommon to both be farmed even by bots or to be sold, because a lot of people are gathering and using it for themselves. Now we've covered tarragon. The other one that I'm sure you guys are expecting this video to be about is, of course, garlic. Garlic has always had a decent standing with the gold making community. It once upon a time used to sell for over 20 gold a piece before people really understood the drop rates, and it suffers from the exact same thing that tarragon does. While there are more spawn locations for garlic in terms of herb bushes themselves, there is only one location on the map that will spawn garlic in herb bushes, and that is, of course, Everfall. Now, because of this, if people are farming herb bushes and they want to get garlic, they look at this, they see a high price point, they all flock to Everfall. So your odds of getting those herb bushes are going to be slim to none. And then it suffers from the same problem as tarragon, whereas you don't get to have that quantity of herb bushes to farm to try and get as many of the garlics as possible. If you're only out there and gathering 2 bushes every 10 minutes because there's 5 other people with you, your odds of making a lot of gold per hour are very, very slim. Which leads me, of course, to number 3. The one that I love farming, the one that I farm pretty consistently, and the one that I've found to have very little competition, I guess is the best word. That, of course, is cinnamon. Cinnamon has always stayed around the 1.5 to 3 gold range. It's sitting at 2.12 right now, which is pretty fair in my opinion. You guys can see this is a bit of an undercut right now, actually. It was probably sitting closer to 2.5 recently, but at 2.12, you're still sitting pretty. Now, cinnamon does spawn in a multitude of different locations. The one that we're going to be focusing on today is Cutless Keys, because I find that I have the best drop rates, and the accompanying items that drop in Cutless Keys are both fantastic. Now, the other things that drop in Cutless Keys, as I mentioned, are parsley and peppercorn. Now, parsley and peppercorn are those mid-tier, the mid-range, middling cost herbs. 69, nice. And they always sit around this. They don't really get higher. They don't really get lower. They're very, very consistent, but you're not writing home about that price. You're not going out to farm parsley unless you're using it to cook yourself. But if you're going out for gold, 0.69 isn't very alluring. And peppercorns are very much the same. They're sitting around the 0.7 range for gold. These sit about right there. That is their sweet spot. So while they aren't as much as cinnamon, and I don't believe anything else is other than the garlic and the tarragon, they are still a great accompanying cost. And if you get them and not the cinnamon, you're not upset about it. Whereas basil's selling for 0.4. So you're effectively getting just over half of what you would for a single peppercorn. Now, all this to say, I was farming in Cutless Keys. And I wanted to see if I found a route that was going to be viable for a good amount of gold making potential. And I came up with this route here. So I was running this in just shy of 12 minutes. You could probably cut it down to between 10 and 11 if you really wanted to, but you do run the risk, of course, of not having the herb bushes spawn back in time, because their spawn timers between, I believe, 8 and 14 minutes, depending on the size of the bush. So you're skirting the line of having to wait at the start of the route again before you're able to continue on with your farming. Another thing to note of this route is it's not exactly beginner friendly. The mobs are all between level 30 and 35, so if you are a lower level, you could absolutely get curb stomped, and that is a possibility. But if you are a higher level, the mobs should present no problem to you whatsoever. You should be able to farm them, skin them, and add to this gold per hour total with very little issues at all. So, all that to say, here's my numbers. I ran it 5 times. It took me just under an hour to do, which reinforces the just under 12 minutes per run. And these were my averages for the 5. This being my most recent run, my last one. If I look at my inventory, this is exactly what I have, which means that this is my average yield. Now, I did just show you the price for all of these. Hyssop, I didn't, but it's selling at 0.21. I can go double check to make sure it's still at that. This is obviously relevant to my server. I have no idea what your server's doing, so I can't speak for it. But this is what it is for my server. I didn't include any of the rawhides, furs, or berries that I gathered on this route. I did gather a couple of elemental items as well. There's some earth spines that are there, but I didn't include those because I just wanted it to be for the herb farming itself. Now, all that to say, you're going to make about 236 or 237 gold every run at these prices. If it's selling for more on your server, obviously more or less, that's pretty self-explanatory. And if you're able to run it in under 12 minutes, that means you can do it at least 5 times an hour, which gets you an average of around 1,200 gold per hour, plus any rawhides that you may get, plus any berries that you may get, any elemental stuff, any furs, anything like that that you may end up getting just from fighting off the mobs that you're inevitably going to run into, can push this probably closer to the 1,400 gold per hour range. Pretty reasonably, I believe. So that's basically it for that one. I'm going to show you guys the route that I did run for this as well. This route specifically is around the fort in Cutless Keys. You can see this is actually the fort itself. And I will show you guys the precise route that I did for this as well. So we are going to start right out by this little outbuilding here. And you're going to start on the western point of it right here. After you've gathered your first herb bush here, you're just going to go around to the other side. There's another herb bush that spawns here. You're going to make your way towards the fort to this herb bush here. And then back out towards the green. There's another herb bush spawn location. After you've got that one, you're going to make your way across the road. And there's going to be another spawn out here. And then you're going to go back along the road to the spawn right here. And then cross over the Y intersection. There'll be another spawn of herbs here. After you've got that one, you're going to come back over almost directly in line with this rock here. You guys can see there will be a spawn that comes up right here. Afterwards, you're going to make your way all the way out to this road here. After you've gathered this herb, you're going to make almost a direct straight line back. There's going to be a spawn of herb right here, spawn of herb right here, and a spawn of herb right between these rocks. Now, after you've gathered that, you're going to make your way across to this street right here. You're going to go out. There's a spawn here, and then all the way out, there's another spawn up here. After you've done those ones, you're going to make your way all the way out to this outcropping right here, and there is another spawn of herbs right at the point of the green and the beige. Now, after you've gathered that one, you're going to go in between these rocks here, and there's another herb spawn. Back out to the beige and the green right here, and finally, you're going to go out to this spot here. After you've got that, you make your way back to your starting location, and that should take you roughly 10 to 12 minutes. Now, if you are lower level fighting and taking longer time taking out the mobs, it might take you a bit longer. If you're a higher level, a little bit less. But I found that 12 minutes, the sweet spot, was pretty good, and the herb spawns were almost perfect every single time. You can see it in the averages that it obviously changed a couple of times. This was the first run, second run. You can see every other run is a little bit higher than the previous, just because spawn times aren't perfect. But that's going to be it for this one, guys. Get out there, happy farming. I hope this works for you. Let me know what your gold per hour on this is, what your prices are on your server. I would love to hear it. But I hope you found this beneficial. Take care of yourselves, be kind, stay safe, stay healthy, and I'll catch you all in the next one. See ya!